Can I fix it for food? They mocked. The black homeless man. Not knowing he was a racing legend, on a cold, rainy evening, a homeless man sat on the sidewalk, his clothes tattered and his face weathered by life. To most, he was just another invisible figure in the city, ignored and dismissed. But what they didn't know was that he wasn't just any man. He was once a legend, a name whispered among racing circles, a man who had raced against the clock and against the world. They laughed at him. They mocked him, not knowing that this was the man who had the power to change everything. Who was this man? And why did he let the world forget him? Keep watching, because his story is about to reveal a truth no one expected. Derek's world used to be full of speed. The roar of engines, the thrill of crossing finish lines. He was known in the racing world as the man who could never be caught. From a young age, he had a gift. It wasn't just the car. It was him, the way he felt the road, the way he could push beyond every limit. He was a champion, a name that filled stadiums and made headlines. His life was on top of the world until it all came crashing down. But that was before the accident, before everything changed. Derek's career was shattered, his dreams stolen, by circumstances beyond his control. The press turned their backs, sponsors pulled their support, the whispers started. Was he ever really the champion they claimed? The world was quick to forget the hero it once adored. Now, here he was, nothing but another homeless man, forgotten and ignored by a society that once hailed him. The city streets, cold and unforgiving, were his new reality. But somewhere beneath, the dirt and the brokenness, a fire still burned inside him. What happened to the man who once raced against the world? Why is he here now, in the shadows of his former glory? Stay with us, because the truth will soon hit harder than any finish line. Derek hadn't always lived on these streets. He used to have a life, a real one. A life where the world knew his name, cheered his victories, and respected his skill. Now he was just another forgotten face in the crowd, his past nothing more than a whispered rumor. No one recognized him anymore. The cheers had turned into sneers. The cheers had faded into silence. He sat on the sidewalk outside a busy downtown cafe, his hands outstretched, holding a tattered cup for spare change. Every day was the same, a cold wind biting at his skin, the occasional glance from passers-by, some pity, some disgust. But today something felt different. The mocking looks were sharper, the whispers louder. He could feel the judgment on his skin, like 1,000 needles piercing through him. People walked past as if he was invisible, just another homeless man begging for scraps. They didn't see the legend he once was. To them, he was just another other. A group of young men passed by, laughing loudly, talking about their big plans for the weekend. They stopped when they saw Derek. One of them, a tall, confident-looking guy, leaned down with a smirk. "Hey, man, you need some change? Or maybe a race car to drive?" The others chuckled, but Derek stayed silent, his eyes focused on the ground. He didn't need their mockery. He didn't need their pity. But then the tall guy kicked the cup out of Derek's hand, sending it tumbling into the street. Derek's heart raced, not with anger, but with a pain that cut deeper than any insult. It wasn't the cup. It wasn't the coins. It was the reminder of who he used to be and who they had reduced him to. He clenched his fists, but stayed still. He couldn't get angry. He couldn't show them weakness. The tall guy stepped closer, his friends laughing louder now, egging him on. "What? No comeback? You're just a washed-up nobody. No one cares about you anymore. No more races, no more glory, just like this street. You're nothing." Derek's heart was pounding, but he held his ground. He could feel the heat rising in his chest, but his mind fought against the anger. He had learned long ago that getting angry in this world meant losing control, and he'd learned to keep control. But the words, they stung like poison. He wanted to yell, to stand up and scream that he was more than this, that he was the man who had once made history. But no one cared. Not now. Not here. The group turned to walk away, still laughing, still oblivious to the damage they'd done. But as they passed, Derek heard one last comment from the tall guy. "Yeah, you're just a sad joke. A black man. With a broken dream." The words hit Derek like a freight train. Black man with a broken dream. The words hung in the air like a weight, dragging him down. It wasn't just the insult to his career. It was the racial undertone. It was the message that no matter what he had accomplished, his skin would always define him, would always hold him back. That no matter how fast he could run, how hard he could push, he would never be enough in their eyes. He stood up, fists clenched, his whole body shaking. He wasn't going to let them take this from him. Not today, not anymore. But before he could say anything, a voice cut through the air. "Hey, you're not going to just let them talk to you like that, are you?" Derek turned, confused. A woman stood there, her eyes wide with concern. She was young, probably in her 20s, dressed in a business suit. She was one of the few people who had actually stopped and acknowledged him. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice steady but tinged with concern. Derek didn't know how to respond. This woman, this stranger, was the first person to show any real compassion. But even that didn't feel enough. He couldn't let her feel sorry for him. He couldn't let anyone feel sorry for him. He had been strong. He had been a legend. And that wasn't something he was about to let slip away. "Yeah, I'm fine," Derek muttered, his voice hoarse. "I'm fine." But as he walked away, his legs felt weaker with each step. He wasn't fine. None of this was fine. And he couldn't escape the nagging question that haunted him. Could he ever truly escape what they had done to him? Could he fix it? Could he fix himself? Could he ever rise above the man they saw him as? The real test, he knew, was coming, and it was going to be the fight of his life. Would he be able to reclaim his dignity, his identity? Or would he stay just another forgotten face, another broken man lost to a world that had long stopped caring? The next day, Derek stood at the edge of the old racetrack. It was quiet, almost too quiet. Like the place itself had forgotten the sound of engines roaring, the thrill of competition. He hadn't been back here in years, not since the crash that tore apart his career and left him with scars deeper than his broken bones. But today, something inside him was different. The memories flooded back, his hands gripping the wheel, the sound of tires screaming against the asphalt, the roar of the crowd as he crossed the finish line. He had been untouchable, the king of the track. But all of that was gone now. And the shame, the weight of it, it was unbearable. His past was a different life, a life where he wasn't seen as just a homeless man on the sidewalk. But then, as he stood there, that tall guy from yesterday walked past him again, smirking. He had no idea what was coming. Without thinking, Derek turned, stepping toward him, the anger building in his chest like a storm. "You don't know me," Derek muttered under his breath, but the words felt weak against the rage coursing through him. The guy turned around, chuckling. "Oh, look, the legend wants to play hero. What, are you gonna race me?" Derek's fists clenched. His heart raced, not from fear, but from the anger that had built up for years, the anger at the world that had discarded him, the anger at the system that had always treated him like less. He wasn't the same man anymore, but maybe, just maybe, he still had enough fight left. The guy laughed again, clearly thinking Derek was harmless. "What? You think you can still race? You're nothing now." And in that moment, something inside Derek snapped. His body was no longer just a shell. It was the vessel of all the years of injustice, the mockery, the pain. He wasn't the man they had made him. He wasn't broken. Not yet. "I'm not nothing," Derek spat, stepping forward with fire. in his eyes. But the guy didn't stop. He shoved Derek, and in that instant, all the memories of every wrong he had ever suffered came crashing down on him. The crowd was starting to gather. Murmurs of a fight, whispers about the homeless. Man, Derek was at the edge. His emotions teetered between rage and helplessness, but deep down, he knew this was the moment that would define him. Would he fight back? Would he show them who he really was? The moment hung in the air, a quiet tension building like the calm before a storm. And then Derek did the unthinkable. He didn't strike back. He turned, walked away, leaving them standing there in stunned silence. Was this the end? Or was it just the beginning of his fight to reclaim everything they had stolen from him? Derek walked away from the crowd, the sounds of mockery and laughter fading behind him. His footsteps were slow at first, heavy with the weight of what had just happened. For years, he had fought to be seen for who he truly was, to be recognized not just as a black man, but as someone who had earned his place in the world, someone who had proven his worth. But in that moment, he realized something that cut deeper than any insult. He had been fighting the wrong battle. The fight wasn't about proving himself to them. It wasn't about earning their respect, their approval. The fight, he realized, was about reclaiming his own dignity, his own identity. It wasn't about showing them who he used to be. It was about accepting who he was now, broken, scarred, but still standing. As Derek made his way down the street, the city around him felt different. He didn't feel invisible anymore. The world had forgotten him, yes, but he hadn't forgotten himself. He wasn't a legend anymore, and maybe he never would be again. But that didn't mean he was nothing. That didn't mean he was less than. He paused for a moment, his eyes scanning the crowd. This wasn't just about him. It was about every person who had ever been made to feel invisible, degraded, or small because of the color of their skin. It was about every man and woman who had ever been told they weren't enough, not worthy of respect or a chance to rise. Racial injustice wasn't just a story. It was a reality that millions of people faced every single day. And while Derek's battle may have been personal, it was also universal. So he stood there for a moment, breathing deeply, letting it all settle in. And then he walked on. What if we all started walking toward our own dignity, no longer allowing others to define us? What if, instead of fighting for their validation, we fought for our own? What if we demanded to be seen, not because of our past, but because of who we are right now? The world may never change overnight, but every step toward self-respect is a victory. What step will you take today?